Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into our source material to break down a pretty profound philosophical clash. So let's set the stage. We're about to explore a serious showdown between boundless, world-conquering ambition and this deep, profound exhaustion. It's a story set in a city where, even the dreams themselves have grown tired. All right, let's start in this place, the city of the Sleeping Well. This is where we meet our guy, Faust. Now, on the outside, he looks like a scholar, draped in these heavy robes. But underneath all that, he's wearing the armor of a conqueror, literally crying out for more. Faust's ambition, it's way beyond just wanting knowledge or riches. He basically represents this powerful and maybe even dangerous idea that this relentless, infinite striving is the whole point of our existence. And he's got a name for his endgame, to become the Faustian Übermensch. Think of it as a being driven by what he calls the will to power, this just insatiable desire to grow, to conquer, and to overcome not just the world, but the very limits of what it means to be human. And you should know, he's not on this quest alone. He's got Mephistopheles at his side, this flickering shadow who promises to show him all the novelty of his sins. Really, anything to keep him striving, to keep him pushing forward. But Faust's big declaration doesn't just echo into an empty street. Nope. His ambition is met by this mysterious figure who's just leaning against a crumbling sundial, its shadow, get this, eternally fixed on the hour of dusk. This is the Soothsayer. Okay, so the Soothsayer is the absolute polar opposite of Faust's whole vibe. His philosophy is all about this profound cosmic exhaustion. For him, the universe isn't some mountain you're meant to climb. It's more like a tasteless broth you just have to endure. All that struggle, it's pointless. It just leads you right back to the same fundamental emptiness. He sees all of us, all of humanity really, as trapped in what he calls the long tiredness. It's this state where we're way too weary to truly live, but we're also too afraid to just let go. So this encounter really sets the stage for the core conflict. The Soothsayer doesn't just disagree with Faust, he completely challenges his entire reason for being. And just look at how the Soothsayer completely reframes everything Faust believes in. Faust's map of ascent gets dismissed as just a ledger of ash. That life-affirming holy yes he has, it gets twisted into the great evening, this kind of twilight of all meaning. And here it is, the Soothsayer's knockout punch. He argues that Faust's celebrated will to power isn't a sign of strength at all. He says it's just a will to distraction, a frantic run on a treadmill of fire, absolutely terrified that if you stop, you'll have to face that crushing void you have inside. And this reveals the Soothsayer's central paradox. That absolute power Faust is chasing, it's not freedom. It's the ultimate prison, the heaviest chain of all, binding him to the very world he was trying to conquer. So how exactly does the Soothsayer dismantle Faust's ambition? Well, he presents what our source calls an inverted journey, a descent of the spirit. So instead of this transformation towards strength, from a dutiful camel to a rebellious lion to a creative child, the Soothsayer shows a journey going in reverse. That creative yes to life is stillborn. The lion's rebellious freedom becomes this dread of an empty desert. And finally, the spirit collapses into the camel, not to carry some great burden, but just because its knees have given out. This whole philosophical attack forces Faust's quest to turn inward. Suddenly, it's not about climbing the mountain anymore. It's about this horrifying realization that the peak is just a mirror of the valley, and the journey itself, it's just a hamster's wheel. So where does all this confrontation lead? Well, the Soothsayer's words aren't just an argument. They spark this quiet but totally devastating transformation inside Faust. That inner fire that drove Faust, that roaring ambition, it's just extinguished. The Soothsayer's logic doesn't beat him in some battle of wills. It just exposes the whole thing as an illusion. His ambition just shrinks into something weak and pathetic. And that core affirmation, that driving yes to life, to striving, to becoming, is just silenced. It gets choked out by the great evening, that creepy twilight of meaninglessness that the Soothsayer's all about. And this leads us to the Soothsayer's final chilling perspective. Faust's cosmic ambition is completely reframed as this pointless fever, I mean, why burn for the stars when they're nothing but cold holes in a black shroud? With his ambition totally gone, that contract written in blood becomes meaningless. Faust just lets it fall. And Mephistopheles, poof, he just disappears. I mean, after all, like our source text says, there's no sport in a soul that doesn't strive anymore. The game is over. And this leaves us with one last, pretty provocative question. The Soothsayer offers a totally different kind of power. Not the power to conquer the world, but the quiet strength to look at its fundamental emptiness and not even flinch. So, the story doesn't tell us which path is right, but it definitely forces us to ask which one is more powerful and maybe which one is more true.